This is the accusation. They're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact.
It was 8 years that he cried racism every time you criticized him. He says, get tough. Well, where's he been? They've been firebombing stuff and rioting and marching and filibustering, setting records. He's been on the beach in Hawaii licking snow cones. How much tougher can you get with Trump?
Joe Rogan and Jesse Watters just ripped the glossy wrapping off Barack Obama's carefully polished legacy. And what's underneath? Not change. Just theater. From drone diplomacy to beachfront climate sermons, the man who promised transformation left behind a highlight reel of contradictions and camera-ready speeches. This isn't politics. It's performance art. No teleprompters. No applause cues. Just raw, hilarious truth, served with sarcasm so sharp it should come with a waiver.
Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this, like this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say that.
100%.
Have you been to Obama's presidential library? Of course not. No one has. It's been in the works for 8 years, and it's only half done. But it is breaking records for the most days between leaving office and the grand opening. Nearly 3,000 days and counting. Originally, it was supposed to cost $350 million, but a couple minor setbacks, some snowy winters. The price tag is now over $800 million. The Bulls built Jordan the United Center for under $200 million.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell icon. Barack Obama's legacy. Think Hollywood backlot, polished facade, empty behind the scenes, and entirely dependent on lighting and angles to sell the illusion. Joe Rogan charges through like a bull in a gift shop full of hope and change merchandise while Jesse Watters gathers the broken myths and regifts them with a smirk. Obama didn't lead, he curated. And every underdelivered promise was just another prop for the cameras.
It's fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. There was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
He ran on hope, then slapped expiration dates on it. Hope for transparency, until the press got curious. Hope for unity, until half the country got labeled like spoiled milk. Barack Obama's brand was the relatable genius, someone who could shoot hoops, drop a playlist, and quote foreign policy in the same sentence. But beneath the charisma, 8 years of glorified TED Talks. Smooth, poetic, and absolutely void of results.
Obama's trying to save the party he destroyed, so he's on a manhunt. But there's one problem. The brothers don't listen to him anymore, so he's trying to transition boys into girls. Barack's got his own rules for men, but these are the rules that made men leave the party in the first place. Barry says, guys don't always have to be the providers, as long as they talk about their...
Joe Rogan didn't even have to try to dismantle Obama's obsession with being the coolest guy in the room. That wasn't a presidency, it was a personal brand launch with nuclear codes. If charisma were policy, he'd be FDR and Lincoln at a Drake concert. But when real leadership called, Obama was busy perfecting his angles. Jesse Watters called out the absurdity of a Nobel Peace Prize handed out like a participation trophy before the first drone strike.
When you look at the policies and the attacks on whistleblowers and drone strikes and all the other that happened during that administration and the coup in Russia, and like there's a lot that's from a foreign policy perspective that's very similar to what George Bush was doing. But what they were doing was highlighting social justice issues. That came about during his administration, largely obscured the fact that the foreign policies were very similar to what George Bush was doing.
He walked into the White House like a rock star and exited like a self-help guru with a Valencia filter. The economy didn't bounce back, it limped with a media crutch. His speeches, lullabies for progressives, flowery metaphors, pregnant pauses. Meanwhile, average Americans were Googling how to keep my job and why is my premium a second mortgage. All style, zero substance, unless you count drone strikes, NSA surveillance, and executive orders stacked higher than his ego.
Harry and Michelle took a private jet down to Australia this week. Michelle looked miserable. What'd she have to be so sad about? Her husband's making millions in Australia. People are paying what, $900 a ticket just to hear him talk? Now, Obama met Australia's Prime Minister. Look how happy they are. Harry didn't even need the Marine to hold it.
Then came his disappearing act. IRS targets conservatives. Gone. Fast and Furious gun scandal. Silent mime routine. Benghazi. Sorry, his reviewing basketball brackets. Jesse Watters shredded that Houdini routine, pointing out how Obama stood in front of every scandal, but was somehow never responsible. Joe Rogan exposed the fraud. He talked like a reformer, governed like a lifer, promised to drain the swamp, then hosted cocktail parties for the Gators. Transparency. More like ghosting the press while monitoring their emails.
Barack Obama's bored. Michelle's outshining him. She's a big Netflix star, best-selling author. Now she's a fruit juice technician. And he's just left starved for attention. Just the way Michelle likes it.
We had your wife Michelle on the show, and she had mentioned that for about 10 years of the marriage, she really didn't like you.
Oh, man.
So asking for a friend, how do you get back in good graces? Again, for a friend. You got a pen, so I'll take a note.
Let me just say this. It sure helps to be out of the White House. And to have a little more time with her.
He cracked down on whistleblowers harder than any president in modern history, while cosplaying as a civil liberties hero. Joe Rogan called it the biggest bait and switch since caffeine-free coffee. And then came Obamacare, a bureaucratic mess that looked like it was built with crayons and a crying toddler. The website crashed more than Windows 95 on dial-up. Higher premiums. Fewer doctors. Deductibles bigger than your rent. And if something went wrong, blame Bush. Blame Congress. Blame cloud cover. Jesse Watters summed it up. He didn't lead a country. He led a support group for excuse-making.
Obama, during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter. And
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person,
right.
A statesman. He's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie about Trump.
Foreign policy. Let's not even pretend. Syria's red line. A suggestion in sidewalk chalk. Libya. Disaster meets indifference. Iran. Pallet of cash and a wink. Obama's diplomacy was an infomercial, shiny in the demo, useless when applied. Joe Rogan joked that Obama could narrate a documentary about war crimes, while authorizing them on a drone app. The world burned while he practiced punchlines for late-night shows. And then he came back, like a sequel nobody asked for, pulling strings behind the scenes while pretending he was just giving advice. Joe nailed it, a retired quarterback sneaking onto the field, throwing picks in someone else's jersey.
Have some class, Barack. Ex-presidents don't go to foreign countries to hammer other ex-presidents. It's just not done. And what he's saying is totally wrong. Obama turbocharged China. Under Obama, China built up their military, hacked their companies, stole our factories. Well, our economy had the weakest recovery since World War II.
Jesse Watters went savage, tearing into how Obama bred a generation of Twitter-savvy crybabies who know more about hashtags than governance. He didn't pass the torch, he passed a dumpster fire. And now, post-presidency, Obama lives like a coastal philosopher with beachfront property and a publicist for every mood. Climate change. His favorite topic, right after hopping on private jets to lectures with a carbon footprint that could power Pittsburgh. Joe compared it to a vampire giving a sunscreen seminar. His documentaries. Just cinematic self-love, soft lighting, sad piano, and every shot a shrine to his own greatness. Obama didn't lead. He performed. He didn't change politics. He rebranded it with hashtags and Spotify playlists.
The roots of the earth.
But Obama said, "Get out of here, Auntie. I don't want your dumb bush." Elder Auntie got booted from the event for being too difficult. She's 78 years old. Obama didn't go all the way to Australia for a welcome bush. He's there for 2 reasons: make money and trash Trump. Barry says that he had China in the palm of his hand. And once Trump took over, Xi Jinping ate our lunch.
I think China feels as if it does not have to operate under the same constraints that it did when I was president.
Joe Rogan called it exactly what it is: politics with a Hollywood filter and a SoundCloud soul. Jesse Watters delivered the knockout. Obama promised change, but all he changed was the packaging. Same swamp. Better lighting. Smooth jazz. He didn't drain the swamp. He landscaped it, added a jogging path, and pitched it to Netflix. Now the myth is cracking. The reality is leaking. And the legacy. Aging like almond milk left on the dashboard. But don't worry, we're just getting warmed up. Because the Obama illusion. Still unraveling. And Jesse doesn't flinch, reminding us, he ran on not being Bush, and governed like Bush with a Beats playlist.
Confirmed about Biden.
Give me some volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto pen.
Joe Rogan turned up the heat. Obama's legacy. Not built on results. Built on lighting design. He didn't solve problems. He narrated them beautifully while nothing got fixed. Healthcare. Still broken. Race relations. Worse. Inequality. Wider. But at least it sounded hopeful. That's not leadership. That's therapy with a teleprompter. And every time he opens his mouth today, it's the same tired remix: everything went wrong after I left. Like the wheels didn't fall off while he was writing his next memoir. Jesse Watters nailed it. Obama talks about economic pain like he's living it, while cashing 7-figure deals and producing documentaries on humility. The hypocrisy isn't subtle, it's high budget, well lit, and sold as virtue.
You remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, fuck this. And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up, stopped a war from happening.
I authorized armed forces of the United States in a limited military action in Libya in support of the international effort to protect Libyan civilians.
Now he walks the political tightrope like a man who knows the media will clap no matter how many times he slips. Joe Rogan sees right through it. The smirks, the cadence, the fake unifying jabs, it's all stagecraft. And that brand? It's rotting. Behind the epic speeches and cinematic pauses, there's a truth no puff piece can bury. Obama promised transformation and delivered a Netflix special. He walked in with "Yes We Can" and walked out with a highlight reel, a memoir, and a fan base that thinks music scores equal meaning. When the teleprompter finally shuts off, what's left? A man. A myth. And the most expensive echo chamber in presidential history.